What's up folks, it's 2bricks, happy 2025. I'm really excited to be starting off on a new type of video for the channel that I'm kind of been feeling for a while that I want to do, and that is to phase out reviews of sets like this one and actually phase in simply doing a quick recap of my thoughts followed by my modifications for a set that I think is okay but needs modifying, and in my opinion this is one such set. So if you didn't see The Marvels, I highly recommend you watch it, the movie that this is based off of. These three ladies are absolutely fantastic. The movie is funny. It's got a ton of great, action scenes that are very inventive. It's got a lot of really great chemistry between the main actors, and it's just a ton of fun. So yeah, definitely highly recommend The Marvels. Check that out if you get a spare minute. It's on Disney Plus. You can just watch it. No muss, no fuss. And the Hoopty ship here features quite heavily in it. Unfortunately, this Lego set, while it is a nice toy on its own, bears almost no resemblance to the ship that we see on screen. Well, that's not fair. It just doesn't look very much like it, and none of the features that we see on screen actually really made it into the ship, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of those. And then what my goal here is to try to take this and change it to make it work with what we see on screen and make it work better as a toy that faithfully represents the source material. Because right now what we have is a nice toy that's just sort of its own thing, right? So it's got a nice opening feature here with the full hatch. We have all the heroes obviously with their blasty, splatty kind of action feature pieces. Those are all fine. We have 3 flirkins. Big fan of those. That's all great. And then the interior here has some nice details with a bunch of stickers, clearback stickers, but still gives you a nice sense of this being a sort of a science-y type vessel. And we have a lot of cool little details on the interior here, some various things that kind of call out things we see in the movie. But the actual kind of main thrust of the ship, the features that really stand out about this are not represented at all. So these engine thingies on the bottom are actually more like feet that sort of move around pretty freely and act as landing gear for the ship. There's a big old opening, well, there's an opening ramp from underneath, and then there's a big kind of opening section back here, which is represented by these trans orange bricks. That's just sort of an open hole into space where people can freely come and go through an energy shield. It does sometimes close up to look more like this. There's also more engines on the back, and there's these big red fins on the top that have kind of variable geometry to them that is not represented here at all. These wings can also move up and down, but in this model they're fixed. And then there's this sort of central spine here that I don't think really captures what we see in the movie. Plus, this whole front section, there's like a red accent to it, and it comes out much further and goes up in sort of an interesting way, but here we just have a single sticker to represent that. So my feeling is this was probably done based off of early concept art and things for the movie, and that the Lego artists that were trying to capture this didn't really know what it was going to be like on the final screen and what it was going to be able to do, because Marvel are notorious for changing things right up until the last minute, and so a lot of that stuff was probably added very quickly towards the end. Like, who knows, maybe these engines did not act as sort of landing feet that could be moved all over the place to have the ship be sort of standing and sort of ready to hop off the landing pad into space. Maybe that was just something that was added late in the game, So I don't really blame Lego. I do blame Lego for the price. The price on this set is absolutely outrageous. I mean, just objectively speaking, $90 for the piece count and for what we get in this is insane. So I was able to snag this at a discount. It was on sale, and then I also used my VIP points, so it only cost me $30, which I was very pleased about, compared to the original retail price of $90, which again is nuts. So my goal here is, since I have the ship and since I really liked the Marvels, I'm going to try to change this up to better reflect what we see in the movie. And this is going to be my attempt to do that. So if I succeed, through the power of editing, we will see the finished ship right now. All right, folks, and through the magic of editing, it is now 48 hours later. I spent far longer on this than I originally intended to, but I have a result here that I'm so thrilled about and so excited to share with you. So I went back and watched the movie, and I watched the clips of the Hoopty over and over again that I could find on YouTube. They were scarce, but there were some. And I basically just tried to build a mental picture of what this ship ought to look like from all sides. And this is what I came up with. So yeah, this thing feels so different. I'm actually keeping this handy so I can refer back to it with you guys. So you can get a little side by side. The main overall core of it is the same, but I've added on so much, and I've changed, particularly in the back, a lot of the stuff that's going on back here. So the front, mainly under here, I changed a fair bit of it, and I added on this whole red section back here, and I actually changed the configuration of the floor underneath, and I've managed to add a ton of playability, action features, and cool stuff that I'm so excited to show you. So let's just dive in, and I'll kind of go one by one with what I did here. I actually also added a custom sticker to match the text that can be seen on the ship as well. So yeah, I'm super excited to kind of go through each of the parts, because there's a lot to this, but I'm really happy with this design now. So yeah, let's dive in and check it out. Okay, so first of all, here's what I had left over from all the different parts that I removed from the set. Some of which I then integrated back into the design, but a lot of them are just still here. This includes all the spares as well. But some of this I'm going to try to see if I can find a way to integrate back into the set when I do the instructions, because as of the time that I'm recording this segment right now, I have not yet made the instructions, but by the time you're watching the video, the instructions will be out. So go to my Rebrickable page, links down in the description, check that out if you want to build this for yourself. But anyways, I have a big old bin of spares here. And this is the Hoopty. So the first thing that I noticed about the ship that was glaring to me, that was omitted, is there's no red on the top. Just from a cursory glance at the ship, that stuck out to me the most, right? And so I added that naturally, but it was creating a problem where I wouldn't be able to open this whole opening section in here without messing that up. So what I did is I actually just put this whole thing on a hinge so that it can hinge out of the way, and then you can still open up the whole interior, and it works great. And it almost acts like a sort of a lock in a way, to be able to have this click into place here, and then you can't really, well, you can, but it sort of keeps it down and keeps it in place while that's happening. So very simple there. So I'm just hinging it right here, and I have a hinge right there. So I basically just have this piece here that I've created, that I then integrated by swapping out some details back here, that was able to then blend in seamlessly to the top edge of the ship there, and just actually make the ship feel a little bit more accurate shape-wise, because it is fairly sort of smooth and rounded off at the top. This has this big sort of bump, this sort of kink in it back here where it goes down and then steps back up. So I've sort of smoothed that out in my my take on the design here, and I think that actually looks a little bit more screen accurate. I also added in this gold detail, which is something that I noticed that is present, which is kind of crazy. It is literally just this little quarter circle of, and it's almost the same thickness too, of gold paint on the top of the ship here. So I added that because, why not? We have the pieces for it. So that's that. And then I changed this cockpit kind of detailing here just a little bit to make this weird little section where there's these little detailed elements up here. I don't know what they are exactly, but those are present in the design. And then also here, I also switched out the color for these red wedge plates. These were previously gray, and this is again something that is present. In fact, almost all of the red was omitted from the final Lego design that is present in the ship, but there's a ton of it. There's these little red fins down here. There's this huge red stripe that runs right the way up through into the engines here, so I'll go over that in a second. But a lot of this was just color swapping and then just adding missing details. So for example, I color swapped and then I just created these, using just wedge plates in here, created this line that goes up and blends into the engine detail nicely. And you can see here that was just sort of a flat thing before. And then there's this missing orange window in here, so I just added that using these plates. It's a very nice kind of rounded, or these tiles rather. It's a nice rounded sort of window shape there, and I really wanted to add that in. And it goes in along the red pattern there. So, that was fairly simple to add. But a lot of this remains the same build-wise, but then down here we have a completely different build. So I wanted to eliminate this sticker that we had on the front here. The sticker just, first of all, it was dark. The sticker did not look like this, right? It was a dark gray sticker. And I didn't feel like it went with the rest of the ship. And also the ship has this very prominent sort of skinny nose section in here with the red underneath. And I felt like that wasn't being captured at all. And also it's a lot more narrow under the chin here than, the original design was very bulky under here. So I wanted to thin that up So all of this under here is redesigned. I have some new pieces. This whole section is new pieces in here. I actually salvaged some of these orange pieces from the redesigned back section of the ship to create this little window down here, because there is a window element present here on this part of the cockpit where it's like at foot level, I guess. So you can, like a lot of drop ships, you know, you can look down and see the ground below you where you survey your landing zone. And then I just have this hinged part right here which can hinge forward to allow the cockpit to open, and then just captures that detail that goes up over the windshield much better. And the you know, little spring or stud shooter thingies back here can still fire off with these fins. They don't interfere with it at all. So very nice indeed. And then in here we have a landing gear, which is actually present in the final design of the ship, and completely omitted from this, of course, as well. All of this under here is pretty much redesigned. I removed these large, like, I think it was like 12 or 16 long bricks that ran right the way through here. So I put this landing skid in here. So in the movie, it is an engine that helps with vertical takeoff. And then during landing, you know, this comes down, and then you basically use that as a landing skid. So that's what I've done here. And then I've also redesigned the bottom here to accommodate for a landing ramp, which is something that we see, again, very prominently in the final design in the movie that was completely not represented here at all. So all I did is I removed the section of the floor here, reconfigured how that is, and then added in the hinging section to open up here, and it just clicks into place very nicely, and super happy with that. Next, moving back, we have these rotating engines that again help with vertical takeoff. They can act as brakes when the ship is coming in for a landing. And then these other little engines that I noticed, little outlets for blue plasma energy or whatever the heck powers these Marvel ships, that I just thought I would add since I had the parts. And then the biggest change, I think, to the functionality of the ship is back here, where these engine pods, instead of being these static things that are just stuck on the end of some bricks, these are actually able to move now. So this is like the most animated part of the ship in the movie. These landing gears, they come down, so when the ship is in flight mode, I'll show you these engines in a second. These engine pods are also brand new. But when the ship is in flight, they're sort of like this, right? And then as it starts to come in for a landing, these start to come down, and then it sort of helps to provide some thrust as the thing is lowering down. And then these lower all the way down, and they kind of tuck in like this. Then they almost look like crab legs. And let me just pop this back on. And they just come down, and this is what the ship actually lands on. And you can see this neat little animation where these grill pieces sort of come out of the ship and then close over the engine outlets to allow it to kind of create a foot. And then so that is now what the whole back of the ship rests on. And it gives it this really pleasing forward tilt that the ship has when it's in landed mode. And it also gives you additional room here for the landing ramp to come down as well. So it's just a win-win-win. It looks great, and it's so much more accurate to what's in the movie. And it just helps the set overall to look better, I think. So the next thing I did, I added in these little landing pods. So previously, this assembly back here just sort of terminated with a couple of, it was pretty lame, honestly. There was a couple of colored plates under here, like a blue and an orange, with just another one of these slopes in the gray over the top of this. But in the movie, you can see here I've got this assembly. In the movie, these engines turn into a nice kind of lighter, more bright colored red, and then they have these nacelles that can move up and down, and they have this intricate detailing in here where you can see two separate engines and they're at different levels. I just wanted to represent that in here, and also obviously you can see the text as well, which I just printed onto a very simple sticker and cut out and placed on here myself. And then so, you know, again, that gives you the ability to pose the ship in more dynamic ways, because one of the things I think that is unifying about the Marvel ships, especially for the good guy ships, is they're very rounded, very sleek, and they're very transformative. Everything about it is very jittery, right? Everything's got these moving flaps. So these top surfaces here can be seen moving up and down throughout the movie. These engines can be seen adjusting position. These legs back here literally transform. And as they do, you know, you move these out of the way and you can put them however you want. And then these wings, as opposed to being static and the wrong shape in the original model. So let me just pull that up real quick. Right, so there were just these flat wings that would just come right out and you couldn't do anything with it. So these are a much more accurate shape. And then the ability for them to actually hinge up and down is, again, much more representative of what we see in the movie. And like all these Marvel ships, you know, they're all transforming to create this sort of visual interest when the ships are coming in for a landing or taking off or doing crazy stuff. It just enables them to look a bit more lifelike when they have all these transforming features and moving variable geometry all over the thing. So that was something I really strove to add to this whole thing. So we have these two little adjustable engines back here. I just wanted them to be at sort of a 45-degree angle, so I put them on hinges. And then the entire back section here before was just this brick-built sort of a back wall, essentially. And I've now made that into the opening landing platform and opening sort of entrance bay back here. And I think that looks so cool, being able to see down in there with the orange. But yeah, Captain Marvel can now come in, stand on this platform, enter the ship, or leave, or whatever, as you would expect to see if you've seen the movie. I also did change the detailing of this. There's actually this really interesting, it is stepped like this in the movie, where there's this little kind of detailing that sticks out of the back here, and then there's this much more sleek shape back here than what we had. It was kind of just this big bulbous round shape before, so this has much more of that sleekness to it. So this is all redesigned as well, and there that is. So yeah, you can see here pretty much a total transformation from what we had before, and having, you know, two ways to enter the ship, right? The landing ramp down below, the back door, which you can just either push down here to open it or just grab it from the side, and then also the ability to then open up the top, I think makes this a much more playable thing than what we had before, and just makes it more fun. Okay, so yeah, taking a look at the interior here, you can see I really didn't change much. I was pretty happy with the overall appearance of how that came together. The only thing that I actually did change is that I removed the brick underneath the bed that was back here, just to be able to give a little bit of extra room clearance to make this feel more like it's a door going out of the back. And I just felt like that brick was just kind of interfering, and it just gives you a little bit more floor space too. Like you can see here, I've placed some of the kittens around, and it just makes it feel like a little bit more roomy than what was there before. And of course, the opening door there, Goose sitting on the landing ramp. But I really like some of the details that they put in here that feel very much like they're part of what we saw in the set for the interior of Carol's ship. And I actually have a theory about this, and I'm going to go into my post-mortem here in a second, but I feel like the reason, there's a reason why the interior of this feels a lot more, I guess, accurate to what's on screen than the exterior. But yeah, like I said, we'll go over that in my post-mortem here for a second. But the ability to sit the three figures back to back like this is fine. It would be nice if they could sit in a triangular configuration like they do in the movie, but you know, it's a small ship. I'm not gonna like, you know, I would be talking about basically designing a new ship from the ground up if I was trying to accommodate all of that. But I'm just so thrilled to be able to have like this back look right here. Feels so good to me, especially with the ability to adjust these pods into the sort of downward configuration, and then all these little engines that I've added that just make the thing feel alive and give it that sort of that Marvel meets Amblin spaceship feel, where there's just lights everywhere, little engines everywhere, and they all move in all different directions, and it just feels like this sort of living being, right? Instead of just a ship that can move around, because this technology is so advanced, it almost feels alive. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to mention real quick is there's this really unfun gap in here in the original design that's just open. It's just very present. You can't do anything about it really. And by having this whole section in here now with the fins and everything, I think that pretty much completely eliminates the downside of having that gap, because you really don't notice it once all of this is in place. Your eye goes right to these red fins and this beautiful like red line that goes right the way through and back. And your eye really does not stop back here. Whereas when this design is so big and gray and smooth with very little features on it to draw your eye, you just look right at that gap. And it's just like, oh, it's just a killer. So, and you can see back here, like I said, the engine's just so bland. They just cut right off with no indication for the thrust or anything like that. And these static pods that are just sitting on regular old Lego bricks, it just feels so un-deluxe, especially for such an expensive set. So I'm going to give you guys my theory now. Many of you may not
know this, but I've spent some time in the movie industry. I've worked on several motion pictures. You can look up my IMDb. It's not, my credits aren't listed as 2bricks though. But I'm going to use my understanding of how all of this stuff works to break down what I think happened to create a set like this and have it come to market being so very, very wrong indeed, and how there really isn't anything anybody could have done to fix it. So typically, the way that it works is with a major motion picture like this, and of course every Marvel movie is an event, right? Usually there's like a 3.5 to 4 year process to bring that from script to screen, with a 1.5 years or more of pre-production, shooting the movie for 6 months or longer, reshoots, and then post-production for at least another year to get everything to look as beautiful as it does and get it out to the movie theater, right? So somewhere early in that process, somewhere in the pre-production phase, or maybe towards the end of pre-production, all the artists are working on the ships and the props and the costumes and everything else that we're going to see, right? The sets, all that stuff is being designed. And at that point, a team of folks from the kind of marketing departments will head on over to Lego and will present them what the movie is going to be and show them the artwork and stuff that they have for the things they're coming up with. And they'll talk about the things that they're excited about, potential merchandising opportunities. And Lego obviously would go, well, that spaceship looks pretty cool, right? We'd like to make a set out of that. That would be a great The Marvels set to do. So at this point in the production, the movie's just barely getting visualized, and this ship may very well have looked just like this and have been nothing more than a set of drawings and the plans for the interior sets, because the interior sets have to be done for day one of shooting, right? Because you need to be able to shoot on those sets. So they would have known pretty well what the interior of this looked like, but the exterior might have been more of a question mark and may have looked more like this, right? So then Lego goes off and makes their set, and it takes Lego something like 1 year to 2 years to make a set as well, because they have very strict standards and their design process is very, very in-depth and complicated, and et cetera, right? So they go off and they make the set that we see here in the instruction manual. But as the movie has gone into production and stuff, of course, the final shots that get delivered are VFX shots, most of which contain the shots of the Hoopty, which, the exterior of which really isn't shown much in the movie outside of takeoff and landing shots and then a big action scene where they're flying the ship around. But we're really just seeing it from the outside, and they're mainly pure VFX shots that are being delivered right towards the end of the schedule. So as they're going through that process, one day the director might say, I don't know, this gray ship that we have that definitely looks just like this, it's not really popping against the background that we have for this planet or what have you, right? Maybe we should add some accents in there. Maybe we add a stripe of red or something to really make that pop. So they go back and they say, okay, producer approves that, and they say, yeah, we have the budget. We can go back and we can make that change. It's not going to affect anything in animation. We'll just go ahead and do that. And then, so now you have a red stripe. And they might say, oh, but if we think it would be cool to add a little bit more of that jet influence of Captain Marvel's, early years. So we want to add some fins on the top, right? So then, okay, they discuss it. They go back. Fine, we can do it. They add the fins on top. Somebody has to go and rig that. Somebody has to go and make all the little pistons to make it look like this thing can move up and down. But fine, they do it. And then the next thing is, well, this landing shot we have, it looks a little bit static, right? So maybe we want to have these engine pods just sort of like rotate down and become sort of like landing skids for the ship, right? Because we think that would be cool. And then and so on and so on and so on. And so you just gradually get something that's further and further away from this. But this set is already in production. The instructions are made. The parts are sorted. The boxes are being sent out to stores. Meanwhile, this is getting finished up a few months before the movie hits the big screen and rendered out and delivered and dropped into the movie. So I don't know that that's what happened here, but that's my theory about how something like this could happen. And there really isn't a way for a company like Lego that has extremely high standards and is very perfectionist about the way that their products are made, and a company like Marvel, who is very perfectionist and very dedicated to making the best thing that they can and tweaking things right up until the last minute. There's not really any way for those two companies to collaborate in a sensible way that results in a very accurate looking ship at the end of the day. Sometimes we get lucky and sometimes it's right on the money. Or, if Lego's going back and looking at movies that are already done, where they can actually look at how the thing turned out. But to be able to get a day one release products like this that ties into the movie's release, they're taking the risk that what they're going to make is actually not going to look very much like the final product at all. And I really think that that's what happened here. But it's Lego, and so luckily we can make these changes ourselves, and we can make it look exactly the way we want. So I am actually super, super proud of this design, and I'm very happy to have this on a shelf. I think it looks very cool. And the elevated parts count, I think, brings it a lot closer to what I would have expected for a $90 set. I do not know where the $90 price tag came from this, other than to say there was a lot of large bricks and a lot of large molds and fairly new molds that were being used for this that may have driven up the price. This element alone is probably like $7 or $8 for Lego to produce, or $7 or $8 worth of value of what's in here. If you go and like look on Bricklink, I'm sure that these are very expensive. So along with a lot of the other parts, right? But still, even given that, this does not make sense as a $90 product. I think this is a lot closer to it, and I'm really, really happy with it. So I'm really, really curious what you guys think. Do you agree with my theory? Do you like the fact that I was able to add so many different moving parts and little features and opening things and adjustable bits to this? Yeah, and just generally let me know your thoughts down in the comments, because I'm really excited to know what you guys make of this. And does it change your view of the ship as a whole? Because I know that this ship design got a lot of hate, mainly due to the Lego set being so lackluster. But I actually feel like, in addition to the movie being really, really good, the ship is really, really cool if you actually represent what's on screen. So yeah, I'm really, really curious to know what you guys think. So let me know down in the comments below. But there you go. There is my rendition of the Hoopty from the Marvels.
All right, you guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed my rendition of the Hoopty here. If you did get the set, if you managed to get it on sale like I did you modify it yourself? I'd love to see anybody's other attempts that have been made to modify this. I really didn't see a lot of attention being paid to modifications of the ship. People were mainly focused on the figures, I found. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this process, and hopefully if you guys do go ahead and get the instructions for yourselves, you can make this really, really cool, really sleek, movie accurate looking ship. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Instructions for that mod are available for free on my Rebrickable page, so go ahead and check that out. And now it's time for my patron shout out of the video. So today we're going to be shouting out Brick Cats for the third time. Brick Cats, you're awesome. Everybody knows, everybody who's been watching my channel for a while knows Brick Cats is a fellow content creator. He makes excellent reviews for Lego sets and mocks and custom things, so definitely check him out. And you're going to be getting your Star Wars themed shout out today, Brick Cats. So let's see. I'm going to assign you the character of Cribtac. And Cribtac is a Zygerian, and Zygerians are known in Star Wars for being a slaver race, which is very, very bad. But your character is somebody who is actually cast out from the main Zygerian society for being a anti-slave activist slash turned freedom fighter. So one of the coolest Zygerians you'll ever meet, one of the only cool ones that you'll ever meet, and that's your honor. Of course, Cribtac is sort of a loose anagram of Brick Cats, and of course I had to go with something cat themed, hence the Zygerian for that. So hopefully you get a kick out of that, Brick Cats. And yeah, and your character will live on in infamy alongside all the other patron shout outs that I'll be giving in the next few months. So thanks so much for your support. Patrons like Brick Cats are helping me to actually do all of the things that I'm trying to do on this channel, like being able to buy the sets to modify. I have other sets incoming from Lego right now that I'm going to be modifying soon, and it costs money to get those things, and building 10-foot Venators and building giant Hogwarts displays and things of that sort. So thank you guys so much, everybody who is supporting. Anybody who wants to help the channel in a free, easy way can of course just like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video. If you do end up doing this, tag me on social media. I would love to see your rendition of it. Or your build of my build of the Hoopty. And yeah, let's get some positivity around this movie, because I think this movie was severely underrated. A ton of fun. I love all the actors in it. I love the, I love everything about the movie, other than the Lego set that we got for it was so inaccurate. So there you go. All right, guys, I'm going to get to work on the next video. I have so many more to bring you. Thank you so much for watching up until this point, and I'll see you on the next one.